So team, like let's unzip the files and okay, let's try to uh, build the Docker with the latest changes. Okay, let me know if your containers are up. I have just shared the commands. We need to perform the same that we did last week. So today's changes, we will be mostly focusing on SRE and Loki configuration, SRE and Promtail configuration, and some changes on the payments app. We will have some scripts. So as you can see my screen, I have just opened the Git Bash portal. So you can also perform the same step by step. You can do the same on the PowerShell as well. So just to give you the quick overview about configurations that we have done in Docker YAML file. So this Prometheus changes were already done in last week only. So this week and this Grafana changes as well. We have added the Grafana version and environment details and everything we have added into the YAML file, and node exporter payment app changes we have done. The only change we have done in this app is like we have set the limit, memory limit to replicate. We will be replicating some issues with respect to the memory, like out of memory issues and all. So by default, the Docker container will pick up the kernel configurations, and that has around, I would say, almost like more than 500 GB of overall space. So what we are doing is we are limiting the memory so that the app will get started with this limited memory configuration. Apart from that, we have added the Loki as well. Uh, so Grafana Loki configuration. So we will be like Grafana. If you see last week, we have opened the port 3000. So Loki, we are opening the port with the 3100. Similarly, the Promtail container as a part of the logging mechanism that is required. So we have done this configuration changes in the Docker ML file. Fine. Any questions? Just confirm in the chat or give me a thumb like if you are fine with this whatever discussion we are having. If you have any queries, just feel free to reach out. Okay. Now in payments app, we have, if you see in payments app, the same Python script we are using, the one that we used last week. Apart from this, we have some scripts over here. So I will just quickly give you the overview about the scripts. As you can see, we have this cleanup, fill inodes, broken service. So these scripts we will be using during our demonstration part. Once we start in, working on the use cases, what kind of issues are, how the application behaves whenever there is a high CPU or memory things. So what exactly action that we need to take. So we will be able to recreate the scene with this once we start running the shell scripts. Okay, and once these are executed, we will be able to see the same result on our application. I believe only Krishnan has confirmed that the build is running, but can someone please confirm, everyone please confirm if you are able to perform these activities. Start with, okay, let's start with the Docker build first. Okay, let's go step by step. We need to first run the build so that it will contain, it will create the containers. Okay, let's start with the say first command, Docker compose of to build command. Okay.
Santosh,
Yes, tell me.
apologies. I've actually joined from laptop. Like
Yeah,
previously, I was joining from phone. Can you please share the link again?
yeah, absolutely, sure. We need to trigger the build from where our Docker ML file is exist. So you have to trigger the build from SRE lab directory. Okay. I'm posting this command in the command. You can use the same.
Santosh, if you are speaking, you are on mute.
Uh, no, actually, I was just checking. So please let me know once you are able to build the containers. Okay, I'm just checking. The container is not coming up. Checking that.
Hello, I have one. Can you please help me actually after downloading that file and opening the Docker desktop? So what needs to be done?
Okay, so you are done with the Docker desktop installation, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you can open this PowerShell,
Okay.
and so I have shared this zip file, SRE zip file, right?
Okay, sure.
So extract that directory
Mhm.
and go to the SRE lab directory. Open it from the command prompt, PowerShell command prompt.
Okay.
Okay.
Santosh, we need to delete this file, is it?
No, actually, no need to delete. For me, the build is having some issues, looks like. So I just deleted the previous instance and just rebuilding it. No need to delete it. If you are facing any issues with the building, if your instances are not coming up, then we need to delete and recreate it.
No, for me, it's fine now. Thank you.
It's working? Okay, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, now it is fine. Instance is up. Everyone, please confirm if instances are up on your application, on your system, so that we can proceed further. Okay, now if you can see here, if you can see here, we have opened the Prometheus instances, Grafana Promtail, our payments app, Loki instance container is also running, and on the right hand side, we could see what all ports we have opened for this application. Correct. So we can validate if our tool is working properly or not. Just open the Grafana instance, similarly similar to like how we have tried to access last week. So let's check if the Grafana instance is accessible or not. Okay. You will have to open it with the localhost 3000. Okay.
I think it is SRE-lab-payments app.
Okay, 1 second. Yeah. That's why it is not able to access it. Okay. Let me stop it. So we are trying to access the app now, payments app. So this exec command, usually we use it to access the any VM server. Sometimes we directly have the access using the SSH as well. So we can use the same. Yeah. Such file container. Why? Name must be defined in that case. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we are able to connect now. So you can use the same command, docker exec. SRE payments. Yes. Just check if you are able to connect to the app.
Santosh, one thing, what is the execution name we have to give here?
Application name,
Right.
the command you are asking about, like,
Yes, yes, yes.
we need to give the application name, SRE payments app. The same we have mentioned in the Docker YAML file.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have given that command as well in our call. You can use the same. So we are in the app directory now. Just check the lab directory as well. In labs, we have scripts. Just check if you have the proper execution permissions. So this is you can directly access by using labs. We have all the scripts here. Everyone, please confirm if you are able to access these files. Okay. Yeah, sure. Let me reshare. So I will keep this prompt. Okay, so let's get started with today's like how to triage the issues, like when we get into kind of production issues, or sometimes we get into like so based on that, let's say if you get any alert at in the afternoon or at the night, like your application is performing slow. Sometimes like this is the typical use case for SRE engineers. Like we mostly need to act on the type of the issues, correct? So the Grafana and the dashboard monitoring tool will help us to understand the the application health, right? They will help us to understand the performance of the application. But when it comes to actual troubleshooting part, we have to immediately start looking into the actual issues, correct? So for that, like there are some critical commands that we must be aware of it. We need to know how exactly they work. We need to understand their functionality. We need to able to connect the dots, like if I'm seeing any CPU spike, is it causing the latency? If there is a load average higher than what we are expecting, so is it causing any application issues? So those all things we need to validate, okay, on the application. Now let's say you have connected to one of the Linux server to troubleshoot the issues. So now we will start checking issues one by one. Okay, so in the slide, like let me okay, so if you open our this SRE lab folder, we have the lab lab reference as well. You can open the lab reference. Okay, so in the lab reference, we have all the commands and everything listed already. So we will start our performing one by one. Okay, so just open the lab reference PDF. So if you are able to open it, like let me share that here again. So what steps we have done so far? Like we have built our Docker container, and we were able to bring up the instances, right? And if you can see, all these URLs are already been listed here. So Prometheus is running on 9090, Grafana instance is running on 3000, Loki instance is running on 3100. Okay, payment app is running on 8080. Okay, so since Promtail doesn't have any UI part like how we have it for the Prometheus, so there is no port configuration required for this one. Okay, so let's get started with the first command. So as of now, you can ignore the dashboard part. Okay, we will use them once we start implementing the stress and the chaos and the incident part. Okay, so for now, we can get started with the Linux debugging command. Okay, so we have logged into our system using docker exec command. Okay, now first command that we could see here is uptime. Okay, so can you enter the command on your Linux server, uptime, and paste in the chat box what result you are getting? And if you are anyone aware of it, what uptime means, can someone let me know? Why do we need uptime? What exactly the result gives us?
It gives us
before it
the
was
system
being restarted.
from when it is up. For example, after the last reboot, when the system came up, the total
Mhm.
duration it gives in the uptime.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So as you can see here, system, we could see it is it's been up been a while now. And apart from that, we have some, like, it will show us the list of users. Okay, and along with the load average. Any idea what load average means?
CPU memory.
How it is differently? See, so whatever the discussions that we will be having, it the same. I mean, you can expect in the interviews. Okay, so usually we ask the same, like if your application is slow or if your application is fine, but still there is a slowness in your application, and you perform the CPU top command as well as the load average uptime. Okay, the CPU observation is like CPU is fine, you're not seeing any CPU spike, but still your application is performing slow. Why is it so? And we need to analyze that. Okay, so when we enter the top command, with the top also we are able to see the load average for the application, and the top will give us the complete performance of the application, correct? What all processes are running, correct? So we have logged into our Python app. So as you can see, our application Python app is consuming like almost 16% of the CPU. Okay, so these are the some of the important attributes that we need to consider here. Okay, so okay, so let me. Let's start with the uptime again. Okay, so hope you are also seeing the same results. Load average, first it is 1.65, and it is 1.24, and it is 1.64 again. Okay, I believe for someone it could be less than 1 as well. Okay, so I have just taken one example from the online resource I have found. Like, so what uptime means here is, let's say these uptime values that we are observing here, mostly they are considered in 3 windows. Like, first it will be in a 1 minute, second after that it will be considered in 5 minutes, and then 15 minutes. Okay, so these are the 3 windows that we consider over here. Okay, now for your application, when you see that how many number of CPUs are there in your application, if the same number of resources are allocated, let's say you have 4 core CPU, okay, and there are 4 resources are being in is being performed in progress. That means your load averages, each CPU will get one resource, correct? If you take the example of this street, okay, now this is a 1 lane road. and you can consider these cars as a resources. Now, when you say 4-core CPU, and if you have the 4 resources, that means everyone will get a proper 1 resource. Okay. Let's say it's a 4-lane resource, and 1 by 1 cars they can pass, because for each car you have a proper lane in progress allocated. When the CPU, when the load average is less than 1, that means you have a more CPU available, but your resources are less. Okay, so let's say there are like you have the again 4-core CPUs, and the resources are only 2. That means your load average will be 0.5. That is nothing but half, right? So in that case, like your overall load average will be dropped. Okay. Now, when we are checking the production issues, mostly we need to see, we need to consider the load average part as well. So how much is the load average? If you notice that the load average is increasing, sorry. Yeah, Mehul, you have any doubts? You raised your hand. Okay, fine. So, okay, so as you see, the load average means like how much resources are available for your per core CPU. You're getting my point, right? So when the resources are overloaded, now you can see our application has 2.15. That means 1 core CPU, for 1 core you have 2 resources. So that means your application is already overloaded. So that is nothing but one of the reason for latency.
RBL bank
slowness.
RBL bank ଅଛି ତ
Mehul, could you please go on mute, please?
କେଉଁଟା ଥିଲା ତ
Let me see. Can we?
মানে লোকেশনটা কোথায় বলেছিলাম টাটা থেকে লোকেশন পাঠাচ্ছে না
রাসবিহারী
Yeah, as Abhishek mentioned here, number of users and connected and CPU load average. Correct, that's right. So as you can see here, we have this 3 windows for the trade. Like first it will be 1 minute, second will be 15 minutes, and the third will be second will be 5 minutes, and third will be 15 minutes window. So when you notice that your load average is increasing, but over the broader window, like let's say 15 minutes window, it is less than 1, correct? That means your overall load average is increasing gradually, correct? But if you see in the other way, like let's say if the load average for 15 minutes is 2.15, okay, and you are noticing that in last 1 minute it is 0.95. That means your load average is decreasing. So we need to analyze the load average in that way. So in a minute, how much is the load average, and in 5 minutes and in 15 minutes, how your load average is performing. So let's say when you take an action to fix the issues related to the load average, right? You need to analyze these things. Hope I'm clear, guys. Please confirm.
Yes.
Yeah. I have one doubt, like if the CPU core is 1, it means if the load average is more than 1, then it means the CPU is overloaded, right?
Yeah, that CPU is overloaded, but that doesn't mean your application will have issues all the time. It will take some time, but eventually your process will be, performed fine. Number of processes are there, right? So there will be some kind of latency, but the load average will be increased during that time. But once your process has completed its execution, again that will be dropped to the normal range. So when we have to work on the cost optimization of your application, so sometimes as an SRE we need to consider the cost optimization part as well, correct? So in that case, like usually we need to check with the requester, like what is the application load that we are going to get, and how much core CPU you need, correct? So if your application is less than 1, so it is fine. It's around, if it is near to approximately 1 or near to this value, we are good with the overall configuration. But let's say if your application load average is less than 0.50, right? If it is less than that, then definitely you have overestimated your resources.
Can you please allow them?
Sorry. Okay, so far we are good with the uptime command, guys. So you can just run the uptime command on your server and check if your whatever the values you are getting. Okay. You want me
So
to-
Santosh, I have one question here. For ideal production scenario, what should be the load average?
Yeah, it should be around 1. Okay. Ideally, it should be, there is, I mean, if you maintain the load average of 1, that means you are allocating the resource and the processes in equal manner. If you're observing that load average is increasing gradually, that means the CPU cores are limited, but you are increasing the overall resource count.
So that will result in application slowness?
Yes, that is one of the part. We have that whenever we notice any kind of, let's say, application has some slowness in your application, that doesn't mean it's only with the CPU, sometimes with the resources allocation as well. Now let's take an example of, okay, let's take, see the database example. Okay, so let's say you are writing some logs, okay, one of the application. And let's say if every log writing takes 1 minute for to complete the execution. Okay. Now let's say in ideal scenario, your script is writing the logs in 1 minute. One script execution is taking in 1 minute. But let's say sometimes your log execution, log writing has taken more than, let's say, 5 minutes. So what will happen in that case? The execution has not yet completed. Okay, your execution is not yet completed here, but still the next resource will keep on coming, right? They will keep on adding here, and they will be on the waiting state because this execution is not yet completed. The resource execution is not completed. That's where your services will keep on waiting, and then the load average will increase over here. That will result to the overall latency.
So Santosh, in that case, CPU will be 100% right?
No. That doesn't mean the CPU will be 100%. See, CPU will spike if your logs writing, the writing is taking time. Okay, taking time is different than, let's say my script is writing some logs and the CPU will be maintained below 40%. So that is again, it is possible. But let's say if my CPU, if my writing script is stuck at somewhere and it is keep on looping in the same state again and again, it will start consuming the memory, correct? And at that time, but if my script is fine, okay, but anyway, like if it is the writing is taking some time, again, it is a kind of cascading effect, I would say. The load average may increase the overall the CPU increase as well, and the vice versa.
Yeah, so I just wanted to understand, say for example, if my load average is constantly above 2 or above 1.5, so that means every core has resources for
double process, yeah, waiting.
right. So in that case, each of the core will be occupied, right?
Each of the core will be occupied, yeah, they are processing it, correct.
So why not CPU will go 100% in that case?
They are processing it, but they are not overburdened. The overall execution will still happen with the same execution time, correct? It will take up in a batch wise. Like let's say once that process is completed, then the next process will pitch in. That's why. Otherwise, if we start occupying all the resources at once, then that process won't be, overall execution will in such cases, if your processing is not properly structured, then in such case CPU will spike up. But if the proper processor is running as per your core, then it will take the execution time whatever the time has assigned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to understand what parameter will be affected if
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean the increase in the load average, right?
Right.
Correct. So there are multiple use cases we will be covering. So one of the part that I covered as a part of this database, right? So I have some examples from the production, like production use cases as well. So that will help us to, help us to analyze, okay, what has caused this CPU spike. So one of the example I would say, so there are different use cases. So for CPU, it may not be the same use case that we are discussing about the load average. But okay, let me see if I have that added or not. I have added some use cases over here. So that will help us to, okay, see the scenarios. If you can see here, high CPN utilization, right? So eventually the CPU also will spike up if we notice that the load averages keep on increasing. That will definitely, as a cascading effect, it will impact to the overall CPU utilization as well. Now, if you see the backup job or if you are executing the database files, correct? So if the overall execution is taking time, then let's say there is 32. Now, if you see here, now you have 8-core CPU and there are, let's say 32 processors are in progress. But the overall CPU will be around almost like it will be in steady manner, 12%. But eventually it will keep on increasing since your load average shoot up, it will slowly, it will as well, it will also increase. Okay, so in such cases, what we need to do, that steps we have also performed. Like what we will be doing here is we are not killing the process, but I will show you how we can fix the issue. Okay, so now you can see, like let's say with the uptime and top command, we are not seeing any much impact over here, correct? So you can see the overall CPU is 10%, and the application CPU Python script is taking 7% of the, or 3% of the CPU. Now what we can do here, we have one script, shell script over here. We will execute that and we will monitor the CPU. Okay. So config one, I think runaway script. Yeah. So can you guys please execute the script runaway.sh? We will see how the CPU and load average will change. And it will impact to the memory as well. Yeah. Please execute the script and enter the top command. You will be able to see. Now, if you have seen, like before executing the script, what we are doing here is, like, if you see the overall CPU has started consuming the eating up the CPU overall execution. If you see 94%, 92%. So this runaway script has started consuming the CPU. Correct? So this will eventually will cause the latency, the application slowness. Correct? So this is some like use cases like we will be able to see in a typical production scenarios, like when we have to analyze the CPU and application health. So this is how we will see it. But anyway, okay. So once you notice that your CPU is quite high on your application, correct? So now let's say this CPU is 95%. What is the action or troubleshooting steps you will take to fix this kind of issue? Okay, Anshul, let me reshare. The scripts are already there in our Python lab. Hope you have downloaded this one, today's lab files. Let me reshare. Can you guys please, can someone please reshare? I'm not able to copy the transfer now file, but let me try. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Can someone please tell me like what we need to do to fix this issue? Now, since we are seeing the issue with our CPU.
First, we can check the process ID, which is consuming more CPU. And with PS-EF and the process ID, we can check what is the process that is running. If it is not critical, maybe we can dig deeper. And if not needed, we can kill it. But that is the least favored option.
Yeah.
But we can check the details of the PID.
Correct. So as you can see with the PS-EF, we are able to see the complete process details. Okay, what exactly the script is causing, and with this we will be able to, analyze if it is least critical. Yeah, we can kill that. We can kill that process. So in order to kill the process, like we can do it with the two approaches here. We can use kill-3 and kill-9. So that -9 is nothing but like we are forcefully killing it. But yeah, first -3 that will send a interruption signal to the script, and okay, so it will then, if it is accepting that, then it will stop. Otherwise, we need to forcefully stop the service. Now let's try to kill the process, and okay, let me try that out. If we have this installed on our application. Okay, fine. Okay, so as we can see, this process is taking almost consuming most of our CPU. So whenever we get any such kind of issues, if it is critical, okay, so if let's say your application itself is consuming the CPU, in such cases, usually we need to provide the logs to the development team, right? If their application itself is consuming the high CPU, there could be some issues with their application code base, correct? So in such cases, we need to provide the logs to the application team, okay? So how can we do that? So in such case, like we can do that with the JStack. So there are some predefined like commands like JStack, and you can use the JStack with the process ID. As of now, on our server, we do not have the JStack installed, so it is not supporting it. But JStack is the command like using which you can able to see the application. It will be able to capture the logs with respect to the process ID. Okay, so what you can do is just JStack and the process ID, so that will capture the overall process related logs for your application. That will help the developer teams to analyze the issue further. What is causing the CPU spike?
Sir, JStack we will use for the taking the thread dumps, no?
Yes,
Another
yes.
thinking.
Yes, yes, thread dumps and heap dumps as well. So usually, whenever there are some issues with the CPU, usually any logs, thread dumps, right? The process dumps, heap dumps. So this JStack and one more command I'm not able to recall for the memory one. That also
memory JMap command.
JMap, yeah. So all these commands we can use it to take the process related logs, to capture the process related logs.
So where does it store it, Santosh? After firing this command, where is it going to store the logs?
It will be stored in your base directory. So we have this,
we can redirect in any TXT file.
Any directory, yes,
any
yes.
path.
So when you enter this JStack, right? So you can redirect it to your log folder. So I mean, anywhere you can, whatever like the folder that you can redirect it to the home directory as well. You can mention the JStack logs like that. So it will redirect to the proper directory. You just mention the redirection. By default, it will be stored in the logs.
Okay, thank you.
But the thing that we need to make sure is once you capture these logs, it will generate it will consume the disk space. So once you provide these logs to the development team, you need to clean up. You need to perform the cleanup as well. Otherwise, you will face the issues with the disk space again. Okay. So now, as we discussed, like if that process, let's say you have taken the thread dumps for your process, the next step is to kill the process. Okay. Now, how can we do that? We can use the kill command, and with the kill -9, we can directly execute this. That will stop the process. Hope it is clear, guys.
So Santosh, what is like kill -3?
Kill -3 is like it's kind of interrupt. So kill -3 will help it will interrupt the kernel. It will inform like, okay, please stop the process. It's not doing the interruption in it's not forcefully killing it. Now -9 means you are forcefully killing it.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. But when you do it with the -3, it's like you are sending an interrupt signal. And if they kernel accept that, and it may stop the process. And with 9, you are forcefully doing it. Yeah, that may also ask in the interviews again, like the basics, like they will start with the basics. Okay. Again, how much is the overall, CPU consumptions and system, what are the, how is CPU performing, load average and all. So that's why I'm starting with the basics, so that no, in an interview questions, you should be able to explain what exactly they mean and how the load average is different than the CPU. Okay, hope you are good with the uptime and top commands. Now moving on to the next command. We will be, I have given the one file, MD file as well. So that is that we will be using it for the overall operations for like grave find, right? When we have to troubleshoot the issues in the logs. So again, we need to use those commands as well. I will show those commands once we are done with the overall the critical commands that we are going to discuss. Okay, yeah, this grep and find SED commands, we will be discussing those as well. Okay, so now we similar to the disk space, so CPU and load average. One of the critical thing is nothing but memory, right? So on your server, you can just simply check how much is the memory allocated. Okay, so you can do free -m. Just execute this command and let me know what are the results you are seeing. We can do free-h as well. With H, it will be a human readable format. So hope you are able to get the values for free-m or free-mh, guys. So just to give you the quick overview about how it is, why OEM is one of the key important thing when we have to troubleshoot the issues. Okay. So out of memory exceptions, like when we get like if your application is running on a particular server, okay, and your application, let's say you have deployed some changes on a production environment, and when you perform the free-m or free-mh, right, you are seeing that there is a significant memory available for your process to to perform the operations, right? Server to perform the operations. So now gradually you are noticing that your overall used memory, correct? Used memory is getting increased by your application, okay, and free memory is gradually decreasing. Even though there isn't any additional resources or processes are running, but still you are seeing that it's being like your application is consuming a memory here. Why do we face such kind of issues? Because if the application has no proper memory, how to release mechanism, if your application has not placed with a proper memory release mechanism, then in such cases we usually face such kind of issues. The memory will be at certain time, the complete memory will be consumed by the process, and eventually the container will crash or the server will crash because there is no memory available for the application to run. Okay, so in such cases, like usually we get the out of memory exceptions. Okay, so what kind of errors, how it will be, I mean, how we can track those kind of errors? See, for application related issues, we will be able to track the logs, the issues in a logger file, application.log file. But when it comes to the out of memory related issues, since your kernel itself, since your container itself got crashed, it won't be able to write those logs, the crashed logs, into your application since the application got crashed, right? You won't be able to access the container itself. Those will be tracked at the Docker level. They won't be able to, if you see here, we have this, let me show that one, generate logs, okay? Now, if you can see here, these are our application logs, correct? Typically, whenever we have our applications, right, running, so it will generate the logs in such manner, right? Now, here you can see some kind of null pointer exception, some errors are there. But out of memory, mostly we could see those at the container level. But what for practice purpose, what I have done, I have captured the out of memory errors as well in our log file. Okay, so we can check that. OEM errors, if you can see, we have it. Okay, we are not capturing that. Anyways, so the application logs will be captured on the application, but when it comes to the memory related issues, sometimes like the server won't be able to capture the OEM errors, so those we can capture it at the container side. Okay, so what we can do, how to analyze such kind of issues. So let's say your application doesn't have any available memory, okay, memory available. So what is the next step you will do? It will be again similar to what we are doing. We were doing the same, that we need to stop the process, right? The immediate first step that we will do is rollback, correct? Let's say you have deployed any changes on our application and due to which it is causing the memory crash, correct? Out of memory. So immediate thing that you will do is immediately roll back the application if it is critical one, and if you have some time, right, to analyze the issues and all, then you can increase the memory. But again, it will be a time being, it's a workaround. It's not going to fix the issue because your application is again going to eat that memory as well, correct? So these are the steps that we need to perform along with the rollback. Let's say do not immediately roll back the application. So what we can do is we can use the JMap here, JMap and the process ID. Now here, if you can see top command, what is the process here running? This is like it's running with the PID 1. So you can just take JMap 1 and redirect the logs. It will redirect the memory related logs for your application. You can share the memory related application logs to your development team, and you can roll back the application changes. So this is how like we can diagnose the OEM related issues. The same scenarios will be asked in the interview, like what would be your course of action when you notice the out of memory issues. So do not straight away tell them that I will revert the CR or I will roll back the changes. Just tell them how your rollback will help the development team to fix the issue, so that once they are back again with the latest changes, they should fix, they have the proper logging in place, and whatever the issues, the memory leak issues that they have seen in past, they have fixed it, since we are able to share the JMap related logs, correct? And if you have worked on the MAT tool, has anyone one of you have worked on this MAT tool in past? MAT tool, I will give you that. MAT.
Yeah, I have worked on.
Okay, so this MAT tool is nothing but the memory analyzing tool. Okay, so with the MAT tool also, you can analyze the logs. So by default, when you perform the JMap operation, right, when you write this JMap, this file will be stored as a part of hprof file. It will be in the hprof format. So that hprof format, you can download this hprof file into MAT tool. There you will be able to see where exactly your memory is being consumed by the application. You will be able to see the memory leak, right? You will be able to analyze why, if there is a proper try catch mechanism is properly implemented or not, or the memory, the objects, right? The objects being used for the application, it's being released properly or not. So all these things you will be able to check in the MAT tool. Okay. So these are some of the steps that we need to perform, like whenever we notice any OEM related issues in the application. Any doubts or queries? I will take a pause here. Please acknowledge, guys, if you are good with this memory things, memory CPU and top commands. We can proceed next time.
Yes, Santosh.
Santosh,
Yeah.
one question in chat.
Yeah.
It is in chat, you can refer to that.
Okay, sure. Yes, yeah, that's right, Abhishek. So that's why I said mostly what happens is as the current Docker and Kubernetes applications, right? Docker and Kube, these applications has if you have seen this STD out kind of mechanism. Okay, so we are whatever the output of the applications are, logging mechanisms are there, right? We are directly storing that as a part of STD out. standard output directory. So we are writing that in a container itself, a logging container. That's why we can get these logs at the container level directly. So right now this server is running, right? When the server will go out of memory, we will be able to see that how we have done the Docker build compose, right? With the same, we can able to troubleshoot the issues on the container. We can get that logs. So Docker logs, with the Docker logs also, we can able to see the logs specific to the application. So far, I'm not doing that since like it will crash our application and we won't be able to like perform with the next commands, and also it will take again some time. So this is how we can do it at the Docker level and at the container level. Since we are directly using the standard out directories, the logs are being written outside, not at the container level. Oh, sorry, not at the server level. On server levels, so whatever the logs we are seeing here, right? These logs as well, we are not storing in application logs. Okay, these are also we are doing as a standard output. Now we have discussed in last week session, right? We are storing our logs on the Prometheus server, correct? So these logs, application logs, will also be stored on the Prometheus server only, along with the out of memory and all errors. Because as you rightly mentioned, once our application is down, if your application is crashed, you won't be able to have the application access to the application logs. So we won't be able to troubleshoot any issues. Yeah, hope I have answered your query, Abhishek. Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving on to the next queries. So these are the server level, like we need to, one of the important thing here is, as so far we have discussed about the top, right? Edge top. So there are, see, with the top as well, we can see the overall CPU consumption and all, but there are some alternative commands as well for top and the CPU consumption. Now let's say you have to check the real-time CPU performance of our application. So here you can have this SAR command. Okay, with SAR-1, you will be able to see every second how your CPU is performing. Okay, so you can see here overall the CPU consumption for your application, and that is for every seconds. So this will help. Let's say your application is running and what exactly causing the CPU spike. It could be due to the system CPU has increased, correct? It could be due to the user. The user here means like the script or the application that we are running. And with combined all these factors, the ideal CPU will be determined. Okay, now similar to okay. Okay. One second. What's wrong with application? Yeah. Okay, now when it comes to the disk space, so disk space is nothing but the overall disk allocated for your application. Okay, so let's say when you enter the df-h command, you can see the overall disk file system and how much is the disk mounted for your application. So can you please also perform the same df-h command and tell me how much is the disk allocated for your server? Just run this df-h command and then we will deep dive into it. So here I will explain the production scenario. Okay. Sometimes let's say your application is writing the logs on your let's say the log folder. Okay. And suddenly there is a sudden traffic surge, or the traffic has increased, or let's say your logging mechanism has not yet properly configured. Let's say you have sometimes have someone from the development team has enabled the debug logs, correct? If let's say someone has enabled the debug logs, and I are like as a standard use case, you should be tracking the logs, whatever like for your application, only when the logs which are mandatory for your application health. To now, if you see here, the info logs are nothing but it will give you the complete idea about the service health, right? What is the request? What is the endpoint user details, right? And all these details we are able to capture. So this is only for a proper standard process. Like we should be considering only info, warning, and error logs. But if someone from your team has enabled the debug log to check what exactly is issue with your application, it will generate logs. It will pile up the logs very. I mean the overall log generation will be very fast. It will consume the overall disk utilization. Now, if you can see here, for your application, how to read this. Now, if you see the df-h, correct? So the df-h, that will give us the complete file system, the disk of the file system. So do you see any issues with the application at the moment? As of now, we don't see, because like the overall application use is only 1%, correct? You can see this, right? 0%, 1%. We are not consuming the disk at all. But if your application logging mechanism has mounted on some particular file system, now if you can see for our payments application, how much is the memory allocated? We could see only 64 MB memory allocated here, correct? And whatever the logs are being generated by our payment app, those will be redirected to only this file system, where full payments. Okay, so whenever I've just for example purpose, I have configured only for 64 MB. Ideally, it would be around 100 GB or 200 GB based on your application criticality. Okay, make sense? So so let's start with like let's see how to check, how to debug the issues with your application. Okay, we have one script here, fill inode.sh, right? Just execute that script. Now take the snapshot before the execution. Check how much is the disk space at the moment. You can see 64 MB, and there is no logging in place. No logs are available here, and we have 64 MB space available. Right now, let's run this fill inode.sh file. Let's try to generate some logs over here. Okay, it is creating some logs. Okay. Now again, let's check the disk space. Okay, so you can see here, right? Earlier there wasn't any file written on our application, correct? Now when we have created some files in where's full payments, right? If we are able to access it, yeah. Anyway, okay, let me rerun. Okay, so generally, if you see the overall disk utilization was like 0%. Now, when we created like almost 1500 files, we could see these are the empty files. Okay, we have not written anything, so these are the empty files. We can access these files as well. So so far, like we could see 10% of the memory of the disk is already occupied, correct? So once you start writing the logs to this particular location, and let's say your overall 64 MB space is used, you won't be able to write anything. Eventually, your application log writing is completely based out of your logs are written to this application, and since there is no disk available on the application, that will again cause impact to your application, right? So you won't be able to write any application, and you will see this error, no space available. Have you guys ever seen this kind of error message on your application? No space left on the device?
Yes.
So yeah, so you can see right now, like yeah, with this also we are able to. So with the when we notice that there is no space available on your service, on the service, eventually your service won't be able to work. Like it will eventually like go into hung state, correct? It won't be responding. You might be getting some 500, 504, 502 kind of errors if your application doesn't have a proper space for your application. Okay, so in such cases, like usually we get this kind of errors, no space left on my application. So what is the fix that we need to do in such case? Like, can anyone explain what you would be doing when you notice that there is no space available on the device?
We need to do housekeeping.
Yes, that's right.
Unwanted logs.
So will you do it directly? Like, will you perform that? Will you clear them directly, or like, is there any sequence that you will follow?
We will call developer team to work on that one. Which one needs?
Okay. See, yeah, that is also correct, Krishna. See, if your application is critical one, okay, and if you are noticing, I will explain the steps to perform the expected ways to how to take the actions. So first of all, if you have access from the load balancer, okay, you can disable this server. Okay, so from if I don't know if you have worked on the load balancer part, but yes, that's right. We can compress this as well. But before proceeding to perform any such kind of activities, since our application is already, that process is running, again, the compression or housekeeping part, if you perform the housekeeping right away, we won't be able to analyze what went wrong, correct? Since we have deleted those logs. So what you can do is, on the load balancer, if you have access to the server, you can straight away disable it. With this, we won't be able to see any new request on landing on our server, correct? There won't be any new request coming to this server. And then you can perform the housekeeping part. You can engage the development team, correct? And you can compress your files into a single file, as Abhishek has mentioned. So you can do that part as well to analyze what went wrong with the application. Okay, so these are the some steps. And yeah, once you disable it from the load balancer, you can stop the service, you can play around it, what went wrong, and how the logging mechanism is working on your application. You can check this, you can fix it, and yeah. So these are the ideal, I mean, see, if you directly do the housekeeping and you directly restart your application, that may again impact to the members, the users, end users, right? So to avoid the end user impact, or if you have to do any kind of troubleshooting, the best way to do is disable that server from the load balancer and perform your troubleshooting activities, and then fix the issue, and you can enable it again.
Santosh, suppose our application is running on a single virtual machine, and we do not have a load balancer in place. So how do we troubleshoot it?
Okay, so if your application doesn't have a load balancer in place, so that means like the calls, it is eventually directly, I mean, there is no way to stop it from the incoming request in that case, correct? It will be directly incoming from the any upstream server or any dependent servers, correct? In such case, what you can do is the immediate fix. Okay, so you need to go with the immediate fix, like since your application is impacting, let's say you notice that 90% of the disk is already been full, and as a part of, let's say you have 100 GB disk already implemented, already been on your server. So immediate fix, what you can do is you can increase the disk space, let's say to 200 GB. That would be your workaround fix. Okay, so by this, what you are doing, you are buying some time to troubleshoot the issue. With this, what will happen? Your application will not crash. You can take the necessary actions. Since you have some time to troubleshoot, need to have some time to take the actions, correct? And once this issue is fixed, you can again bring back the servers to the old configuration, again back to the 100 GB. Yeah, that is one of the workaround fix, Niharika, that we can think of. But yeah, there are multiple ways. You can mount, the server to another. You can see right now we have this Whirlpool payment file system, right? You can add one more file system for a workaround, and you can redirect the logs to that file system. So these are some of the use cases that you can explain in the interviews. See, while answering the questions in the interview, just make sure that you are considering the reliability part in your mind. The end user shouldn't be impacted, okay? And without the interviewer looking for that approach only. So if you directly straight away tell him that, okay, I will kill the process, I will delete the logs. So eventually you are impacting the members. That is the end result that we have to perform it. But the sequence is also very important. What is the sequence of execution you will perform, and how you will execute the steps. So if that will show that if you have really worked on such use cases and you are ready to take the actions or ready to take the calls. Now, if you see, most of the times what usually I have seen in the interviews are, when you see this, when I ask, okay, your disk space is 90% full, what you will do? Immediately they say, okay, I will clean up the disk space. Okay, yes, that we have to do it. To fix the issue, we have to do it. But is that going to solve? Because after some time, again, that disk space will full. So you need to think, like we have discussed about the toil reduction part, right? In this week 1 session. The toil reduction part is nothing but we are avoiding the manual effort here. So what we can do, we need to have a proper logging. And now, if you see this compression mechanism, log compression, right? So we can implement the logging compression that will, right? So let's say if my logs are older than 15 days, instead of deleting them, I can compress them. Okay. If my logs are older than 30 days, then yeah, we can delete them. Okay. So these are some of the use case that you can explain in the interviews when you get such kind of questions. What are the long-term plan? What would be your long-term approach to fix this kind of issues? And then definitely the next question would be like, can you write a script? So that will, again, your script should take care of compressing the files older than 15 days. Okay, so these kind of use cases may also get asked in the interviews. Okay, in that way, if you get such kind of questions also, you need to consider of implementing the mtime, find mtime plus 15. So that will give us the files which are older than 15 days. And with that, like you can compress those files. So again, like that will again a part of shell scripting. But yeah, so we need to consider, we need to provide these kind of approaches during the interview.
One doubt, like
Yeah,
what is what is find mtime? Mtime means what? It is a days, number of days, or
yes. So okay, yeah. So mtime is number of days. So there are multiple. I mean, what we can say, the attributes for this find command. Okay, so find mtime, mmin. Okay, that is meaning minute. So we can compress the files based on the minute as well. Okay, so we can explore these commands. Okay, I have already created this file, right? So with that, we will be able to see how to implement how to utilize the find command. That's right. Okay, so these are some of the typical questions that are that will be asked in the interviews when you have to perform the disk space related issues. So you got the approach, right? What would be our standard course of action that we need to take whenever we notice disk space related issues? Hope that I have covered properly. Let me know if you have any queries or doubts. Yeah, okay, Srikanth, you mean mostly we can't zip the last 3 days logs and we delete the older than 15 days. Yes, it is. See, Srikanth, it is again depend on the criticality of your application. Okay, so if your application, if let's say, if there are any incidents or, if your application for which your application logs needs logs older than 15 days as well. Okay, so let's say there is a user has reported a issue which he noticed, like let's say 10 or 15 days back. But if you have taken any action, like you deleted the logs, you won't be able to catch any kind of logs if you delete them. So it's again depend on your application, and that you need to discuss with your developer team. Okay, how what are the logging mechanism you want to implement, for how long you want us to keep the logs. This is again a kind of SRE team to engage with the product owner. We have discussed the error budgeting part, right? Error budgeting and SLOs, SLIs, correct? So we need to discuss about the error mechanism as well. Like how do you want us to keep the logs, and how long do you want us to keep in your application, and how do you want us to implement it? So that is again a part of our cost optimization. If you are increasing the memory, let's say you're noticing the disk space 100 GB and straight away we are increasing to the 200 GB. That is not the ideal way to fix the issue. That is just a workaround. What you are doing, that increasing with the 200 GB, it is nothing but you are increasing the cost of your overall organization, right? It is costing your organization. You need to pay for that. When it comes to the reliability part, we need to consider the cost optimization as well. Hope I'm clear, guys. Please confirm in the chat or give me at least thumbs up. Yep. Okay, thank you. So guys, let's take a 5 minutes break, and we will wrap up the sessions in another like 15 or 20 minutes. I have just completed the disk space related things, but we need to cover this part. Okay, I will go through the grep commands and find and all as well. So okay, so we will go through one sample of each command, and in the lab session I have given all the in the MD file we have all the commands already in place. Okay, so you just need to execute them one by one, and you need to check. So these are one of the most asked questions in the interviews. Okay, how will you find out the logs? Okay, the delete logs and see time. Let's say if you get any questions in the interview like, okay, since your disk space is almost full, can you delete the files which are older than 100 MB? So find command will help you to perform all these kind of operations. Okay, size minus size plus 100 MB, and you can simply add a pipe exec rm minus rf, and that will take care of deleting the files which are older than which are over 100 MB in size. Okay, so these are some of the critical commands that we need to practice it because these are being asked in the interviews as well. So these are the Linux fundamentals, but yeah, they are very crucial. I will keep this window open. Okay, what you can do is you just execute this this file, log generator file. Okay, generate logs.sh. Okay, so that will generate the logs, and you can execute these files. Okay, instead of app.log file, just it will be, I think, generating the app.log only. Let me see. Yeah, app.log only. So what you can do, whatever the grep commands we have written over here, right? So you can simply try to execute the same for this var log. It will give this location, right? So just execute this command and see what output you will get. Okay, let me know if you have any doubts. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, you can ping in the chat as well. I will be check once I'm back. Or you can guys also can take the 5 minutes break. No worries. We can discuss after the 5 minutes break. Yeah. Yeah, hi Vijay. So in today's zip file, right, we have already added the installing Grafana and Prometheus. So if you install today's, I mean containers also, it will by default it will build the Prometheus and Grafana instance. So today's lab is like has all the things like from the last week as well. We have just added some of the scripts. Else all the files and the configuration are remain same. Um, okay, welcome back. Please confirm if you are able to execute all these commands one by one, and if you are getting the proper results. So to generate these logs, you will have to execute the generate logs.sh file first. That will create the logger files, okay, and where log payments, and this will generate the application logs, okay. And with this, we can perform the grep or find all these operations we can perform. So just check if you are able to check for errors, exceptions, right? User IDs. So just check if it is working fine or not for you. So again, from the intro standpoint, usually we get a questions like, can you check if your application has any errors? Okay, and sometimes we need to see like how many errors or exceptions are there. Correct. So when you see grep command is generally like we use it to have this uh, to check the logs, actually to grep it from the log files, from any files actually. If you are looking for any specific text or from a log file or from the configuration files, usually we use it the grep command. And the grep has a lot of features like you can check with the number of errors, right? It will give us the count as well. If let's say for your application, if the number of errors are still 305 or they are keep on increasing, correct? Let's say you have some dependency with your application, let's say from your downstream API or your downstream server. If that server is down, and due to which the upstream server is also getting the errors in their application, that the service unavailable error, correct? In such case, let's say the application team, the one who has been facing the issue, they confirm that okay, they fixed the issue, they resolved it. So we need to confirm it, right, on our application if we are still seeing the errors or not. So grep is the command. Usually we use it to check the logs and to analyze it, how much is the error percentage, correct? So again, to connect this with our error budgeting part, as you can see, the application log files. This application log file will have the complete info errors, correct? Info, out of which, so these are the total number of requests I have on my application, correct? Out of which 305 are the errors. So that is nothing but close to almost like 9% of the error rate on this server. So this is nothing but the error budget part on the application level. You can implement this as well as a part of automation. If you notice that the errors are increasing on your application, then you can configure the alerting part. Okay, sometimes we get questions like we need to check errors as well as exceptions on the payment app. Okay, so again, you need to perform the egrep app here. Egrep is nothing but an extended type of the grep command. We can type with the error and a pipe symbol with the exception. Right, so I need to check that with the case insensitive format. So I will add grep-i here. Let's see if we are able to get it in the log comment. Okay, now if you can see here, I'm getting the logs for both errors as well as exceptions. Correct? Now, to deep dive into a particular error trend or the errors, correct? What usually the developer team ask us like, okay, so you are getting the, let's say, null pointer error, right? They might ask, okay, can you give me the complete error snippet for this null pointer error? Okay, so what is the approach we can do? Either you open the log file, correct? You open the log file using the lace command or the vim command and check for the null pointer exception. Okay, it is loading now. See, you can check for null pointer exception. Yeah. See, this kind of null pointer exception we can get, and we can share this with the teams, like where exactly the issue is. The alternate approach, what you can do, you no need to log into the application.log file. Using the grep command only, you can do that. Okay, how can you do it? We will use the same egrep command. Okay, and we can add this after. -a is nothing but these are the again attributes for the grep, and we can use after. Just give me 15 lines after my exception word or error word. So this will give me the complete error snippet or exception snippet. See, if you can see here, it is giving me the complete 15 lines after my result. So null pointer exception, it is printed over here, and after that it is giving me the next 15 lines. So this will help us to determine where exactly the issue is, from which server or from which thread we are getting this issue, correct? What is the server controller, what exactly the downstream, like from the API level, where exactly it is getting failed, right? So this is nothing but some of the troubleshooting hacks that we need to perform. I mean, whenever like we have to provide the logs and the complete error snippet. So sometimes like the errors won't be completely visible. Sometimes let's say there is an issue with the Grafana tool or Loki, which is not, if it is not able to capture the complete logger snippet, correct? In such case, like we have to log into the server and we can check like this. by using the grep commands. Okay. Similarly, like we can use the set command here. So as of now, like see, the thing is, set is a very critical command, I would say, and it should not be as of now, like I would say, I have seen couple of P01 and P02 due to set command if they are not used properly, because they are changing, they are replacing the files or the content of the files straight away. Okay, so if you are not very sure about the this proper set command process, I recommend not to use that in the production. Okay, if you are uh, uh, very sure about like what your set command is doing, then only perform it. Otherwise, I would say not to use the set command on the production. Okay, and based on that, we can see again when it comes to the find command. Find again similar to the grep command. Find also provide a lot of features. Okay, when we have to perform the actions with respect to the files. Okay, so during the interview, you get questions with respect to the file operations and with respect to the line operations, like logger level operations. Okay, when the interviewers ask like the questions related to uh, particularly in the log file. Okay, I'm saying in the log file, like application.log file. Then usually we have to go with the find grep command. But when we have to perform the operations on the log file, if you are, let's say, have to delete the log files. Okay, let's say you have to delete the logs older than 15 MB or 100 MB. So you are performing the complete delete operation on the file. In such case, you need to use the find command. So that is how you can remember in which case what command you need to use it. Okay, this is also checked in the interview, like if you are aware of main difference between find, grep, awk command, in which case what command they need to use. If I'm clear with this commands, guys, please let me know if you have any doubts. Okay, fine. In our this script file, I already have lab in the lab file, right? We already have one MD file. Okay, so this is going to be our work activity for the next week exercise. Okay, so what we have to do, we have covered most of the grep and commands that will be asked in the interviews based on the usually, yeah, these are the kind of questions are asked, like can you check the out of memory errors? Okay, can you check how many out of memory and full stack we need to check for the complete null pointer errors? Okay, so I have covered most of the use cases over here. Based on that, you can check. Okay, so if you see here, this is the typical question. Even I was asked this question. I mean, in the interview with one of the bank level companies. So they asked me, okay, you do not have access to the elk, and you do not know the logging process, and you are on the Linux server, and you need to find out how many 2x6 are there, how many 5x6 are there, and they are expecting the result in such format. So this is one of the typical questions asked in the interview. So you need to prepare for this regular expression properly, how the AWK work. Okay, so this is nothing but an AWK. By using the AWK, we can process the file based on the column. Okay, so with that we can able to get the column wise values. Okay, so this is nothing but one of the regular expression being used in AWK. And yeah, if you want me to deep dive into AWK and all these commands, I can do that, but let me know accordingly. I can take the one more session for Linux fundamentals and deep dive. The main today's motto was like to cover what are the interview point of view questions will be asked. So I have covered all the things like disk space, CPU, memory things. That is one of the fundamental things are asked. And apart from that, if you want me to cover the grep and AWK part as well as a part of regular expression, let me know. We can cover that part. But these are not the kind of mandatory things, because most of the logging mechanism is already there on the Loki, right? So we are already configured the Loki logs, and that is running. So we can check the logs over here or there directly. But if you want to deep dive into Linux fundamentals, then these are some of the critical commands that you need to consider, you need to prepare. Okay, so this is the exercise, guys. Over the week, you need to check one by one. Just deep dive into the documentation part of AWK, grep, find command. Okay, and list out what all the find commands are there, possible find commands, grep commands, and just list them out with the proper process, like how exactly they work. Okay, and what is the exact output that they will get when you add them with the proper variables, sorry, attributes. Okay, so I would say go through the documentation part as well, but these are some of the critical things. So that is the lab exercise we have to perform for this week. Okay, yeah, I think I have covered that part as well. Just quickly, I would like to go through the networking part as well. So we have covered till grep commands, right? Okay, OEM is also completed. Yeah, so when it comes to the networking is, again, apart from the server level configurations, networking is one of the critical things that usually asked in the interviews. Okay, so if your application, what is the port, I mean, you have configured, if your application is listening the port or not, if your application is connected to one port to another port or not. Okay, so in such case, like we can use a couple of commands are there. So netstat, curl, telnet are one of them command. Okay, so as of now, like netstat is deprecated, and I believe this TVLPN is recently being used. But yeah, again, we can use the netstat as well. The netstat will also give us the complete result for your application. So on the same Linux box, you can check with the netstat command. Okay, netstat-nal. Let's see what result we'll get. Okay, so if you can see here, our service is running on the local host, and it is local host. It is in the listening state. That means this port is configured, and this is the I mean it's open with the TCP protocol, and it is listening. So whenever, like, let's say your application, correct, from your Java application, okay, if you are you have connected your Java to the database application, okay, and let's say your database application is open, they have opened the port for database for 1 2 3 4 5. Now typical interview questions will be like, okay, your Java application is not able to reach out to the database. How will you check that? So you can use the netstat command with the port, okay, with the port address. And if it is listening, then you can confirm that if your Java application is listening or not, correct? Sometimes when your Java application is down, okay, sorry, if your database has some issues, so if that database instance is down, then you won't be able to see that instance over here. Correct, that then you can confirm, okay, I'm not able to connect to database from my Java because I'm not seeing that port on my application. Please check the database instance if it is running or not. So without connecting to the database, you can able to determine, okay, if your application is connecting to database or not. So netstat is one of that critical command. With that, we can check the connectivity between the applications. Okay, hope I'm clear, guys. Please give me a thumbs up or confirm in the chat if you understood this. Thank you. Yeah, so we won't be asking detailing part of like much into it, but yeah, I will quickly go through what exactly they means, the netstat application and the TLPN. So this T stands for this TCP protocol, TCP socket, and U is like it will show us what all the protocols that what are the sockets are being opened. With this, we will be able to see. But anyway, when you use the netstat-nal, that will also give us the same result. Okay, so these are the some alternative commands that we can check along with the netstat. We can use the lsoff, we can use the telnet. Let's check one example with the curl command. Okay, now we have seen some examples related to the certificate part, right? For your application, sometimes on the production environment, you have noticed that your application certificate has some issues. Okay, certificate is not able to there it is facing some issues. If it's renewed or not, what is the validity of the certificate? And if your application if your application is accessible from the server or not. So we can use the curl command to check if the endpoint that is whitelisted or we have given the access to that endpoint, is it accessible or not. So using the curl command, we can check that. So these are some of the curl examples. Okay, so let's execute one of the curl command and let's see what is the complete result we get. Okay, so let me execute one of the curl here. So I would request, please execute the same command and check what output you are getting. So okay, so team, just let me know if you are able to see the result. Okay, if you are also getting the same, let's check and confirm. It is giving us in detail logging for our application. Okay.
Hey.
Guys, are you also getting the same results? Can you please confirm? Yeah. So let me quickly see, when you try to access any endpoint from your application with the curl command, or let's say you have some outbound connectivity from your application, and okay, sometimes we usually get an questions also, right? I need to check if I have whitelisted one DNS, or you are calling the third-party API from your application, and they want to confirm if your application is accessible or not. So this is something a typical like curl command looks like, and we need to check this. We need to analyze it. Okay, and if you can see here, we should be able to understand what exactly the result we are seeing over here. Correct. So it is trying to access the URL. Okay, first of all, it is tried with the check the host. It is trying to access the host here. What it has done, it has tried with the IPv6 IP over here. It's trying to access with that IP. But if you can see with this IP, the network is unreachable. Correct. And then what the next step it has done, it has again tried to access with the next IP. Okay, So again, it was not reachable. IPv6 IP, it was the same IP. It was not reachable. It has then falled back to next IPv4, correct? IPv4 packet. So you can see it is trying to access with the IPv4 now, and the curl was successful with the IPv4. Handshake was done. Correct. So this is the typical handshake activity that happens, and this is the TLS 1.3 version, right? So sometimes in an interview, they just ask you to ask you the questions like, what is the TLS version you are using? Okay, so you should be aware of it. What is TLS version you are using in your application? Okay, and how the handshake operation happens over here. So this is the typical handshake operation. Client sends the hello. Along with that, the client sends the certificate flight certificates along with the CA certificate authorities as a part of the CRT file. And again, it goes to the server. Server then check reply back with the hello response. So these are the operations. Like then again, it will be handshake will be the certificate again. It will be used at the server level. Okay, if it is a one way, then the certificate part will not be sent as a part of this request. So all these things will be like, if you are mostly into the security part, okay, if you are closely working with the certificates, if you are working with the network and when the SRE focus is most on the network reliability network part, then you should be aware of all these things. Okay, along with that, you should be aware what exactly the server certificate means over here. Okay, now if you can see, the subject is CN. That is nothing but the common name, and that is the certificate name, and the expiry of this certificate. Okay, so for this example.com, so for this www.example.com, for this certificate, the certificate has is renewed, and the start date for the certificate starts from this 29th of July, and the certificate expires on the October 27th. Okay, and who is the issuer of this certificate? That is nothing but the Cloudflare. Here, issuer means who has given the certificate to the example.com organization, to whom they issued the certificate. Okay, so there are some issuers in the organization. So at the certificate level, certificate authorities, we call them certificate authorities. You might have heard about DigiCert, correct, and Cloudflare. So they are the certificate issuer. So whenever you are creating a new domain, to have a proper security in place for your application, you need to have a certificate in place. So that a certificate usually provided by these issuers. Okay, and when you perform the curl command, it check the certificate if the certificate is okay or not. So typically in the interview round, if you are mostly if they are looking for a network, I mean, if the requirement is looking for, like, let's say they want a candidate should have a deep understanding about the networking, then you need to consider all these things. You need to prepare for everything, especially if you are in 10 plus experience or 12 plus experience. So yeah, again, along with the system design, these terminologies and fundamentals are mandatory. You need to you should be aware of how the overall flow works, how this mechanism works, how the request handshake happens, the certificate flows, and everything. But yeah, this is just a kind of one of the troubleshooting mechanism. But usually for the SRE interviews, they ask like if your application is accessible or not from your server. Let's say you're trying to access google.com or any endpoint. Is it accessible or not? And what all parameters you will see when you do the curl command. Okay, so in such cases, like let's say if your endpoint or this domain is not accessible, you will get the request won't proceed after network is unreachable, or you will see some kind of connection refused kind of errors. Have you guys ever observed a connection refused error for your application when you're trying to access it?
Yes.
Yeah, so these are some of the typical examples, like if your application endpoint is not enabled or whitelisted from your network. So usually they will be, or the request that you are trying to access in the curl command, if that is not in proper format that they are looking for, then usually you get the connection refused. Okay, so that's all about the curl command. Okay, and yeah, so we have this broker service, I mean script also in our configuration. But again, as of now, whatever things that I have discussed is already been covered. Okay, so what do you mean by I mean the connection refused? When exactly do we get? So this is just a mock that we have created in our lab file. That again, I would request you to perform as a part of this coming week, or you can try this out today as well. When you run this broken silent broken service with the silent parameter, okay, so it will give you when you try to access the curl command, you will get the proper connection refused error message. Just try to, I'm just trying recreate the scenario here, like in which case like we get the connection refused, and how do we check if our requests are successful or not. Okay, so you can perform this anyway. I will be sharing this lab. So I have given the steps also to how to cross check if the application connectivity. Yeah, this is our regular diagnostic scenarios MCQs. I'm not that mandatory, but yeah, you can give a try. You can practice it for yourself. Okay. This is one of the interview scenario. I think mostly we have covered, right? Again, so we started our today's session with our application slowness, correct? We checked about the top, htop, and free-m command, right? So all these things we have covered over here. Okay, so when you get any kind of interview questions, your service is running slow, correct? It's not accessible. Can you tell me what would be your troubleshooting steps and how will you check it? So the same things that we have discussed, we will start with the top command, right? First, like we will check the load against the core count, like the resources versus the core CPU count, correct? So we have checked this every 1 minute, 5 minutes, and 15 minutes trend. So that is how you need to start with when you see any kind of when you get any kind of such interview question. Then if it is the load average is fine, then you go with, we'll check the top command. In the top command, you usually check the overall systems process list, as someone mentioned in the call, like we check the process, how much the CPU is consuming, and all these parameters we will see along with the disk. And yeah, the top and MP stat will give the most of the time the same result. I mean, along with that, we will check the memory with the free-m command, right? So with the free-m, if there is any memory available for the service. Along with that, if the memory is fine, then I will check the disk space on the server, and I will check the file system allocated for my service, if the disk space is proper or not. If something is related to the application, correct? If my service endpoint is having some issues, okay, if my service is calling an external endpoint, I'm not able to access it, I will get to know with the curl command. So these are your steps that you have to tell in the interviews, or you have to start with. Okay, so based on that, this is the standard, steps that you can start with, but you can expect the counter questions from the interviewer. Okay, let's say they ask you, okay, so you have seen that their disk is full. Let's say 90% of the disk is full. What would be your next step? Then again, as we discussed in the call previously in the slides, your steps should be as an immediate step, you go with increase in the disk space. If you have the access with the load balancer, wherein you can stop the traffic on the server, you can stop it, and then you can zip or you can compress the logs, correct? And you can then start with checking the log4j files. If there is any debug log opened for this particular application.log file. If that is the case, I will change it. I will disable the debug logs, or I will fix the log4j mechanism for the application, and I will rerun it again, and I will see how the disk space utilization is performing post my changes modifications. And if it is working fine, then I will clean up the logs, and I will stop the service. Then I clean up the logs, and yeah, again I will monitor the overall disk space utilization. over the time how it is performing. So this is how you should be answering in the interview. Just make sure that you are not answering in a way like I will clean up these logs, I will stop the service. Okay, you have to be practical. You have to give it a proper way. Like approach should be practical in a way that it is acceptable by the interviewer as well. Since it's the production environment you are playing with. So any wrong step that you perform or any step uh, here and there that could impact to the overall members, right? So that's what like your step should be as an SRE engineer, like they are expecting from you. Okay. Now, just to wind up the call with this cheat sheet, like we have summarized this along with the space commands. I would say no need to have all the knowledge about all the commands, but if you are good with the basics like uptime, top command, free DMSG, right? DF5H, DFI, netstat, curl. So these are some of the critical commands. Then you are good to go with the overall troubleshooting. A Linux troubleshooting part. Okay. Any questions like before we wind up? So tomorrow we will start our session with logging part. So I just do not wanted to stretch it, like we already have configured the Promtail for our application, and from the Grafana with the 3000 port we can right now access our logging mechanism as well. But I just wanted to focus on our main core Linux functionalities, fundamentals, because this is one of the critical things, and definitely you expect this in the interviews, even though the interviewer, if you are working on the Linux box or the Kubernetes supports, the down the line the environment is on the Linux box only. So just like when you log into the pod, you will be performing the same operations that you are performing right now on the Docker container. The operations will be same. It's just like the environment will change. Hope I have covered like whatever the things that we have discussed, or if you want me to cover any other parts apart from these commands, just feel free to let me know. But according to me, these are the critical things that we need to prepare. Any doubts or queries before we wind up, please? Yes, we can. We can cover more on AWK and ACD. Yeah. Sure. I will take one more session on that. I mean, let's see how I will add a few more slides and we'll try to cover that part as well. Usually, if you are good with the Linux troubleshooting, mostly I would say it will be easy for you to, the tools will come and go. But if your basics are clear, if you are good with your basics, if you know how to check on the Linux box, how to play with the Linux box, then almost I would say 70% of your concepts are clear and you can clear the interview. There are the SRE level interviews, but if you are good with the Linux, proper Linux and all these things, you can apply, you can go for the Linux administrator, correct? And all these things, Linux related, all the roles you are eligible for these roles then.
One doubt, like you showed in one of the logs that there is a null pointer exception, right? So for different types of exception, like what action will an SRE take for various use cases?
Yeah, okay, good question. So when it comes to the exception part, right? So these exceptions are typically two types of exceptions. So one are like, if the errors or exceptions are related to the applications, then we can look into those, right? Let's say some IO related exceptions, out of memory exceptions, correct? Disk space related exceptions, right? No space left on the server. So all these kinds of exceptions, we can act on it because this is something that related to the infrastructure part. But when it comes to the application logs, let's say array index out of bound, null pointer exceptions, correct? Any application related logs. This is somewhere like you need to engage the development team. Okay. As an SRE engineer, what you can do is you can keep a track of such kind of exceptions. Let's say every day you are observing, let's say, thousands of null pointer exceptions. And let's say you have deployed some changes and post those changes, you are noticing that null pointer exceptions were increased from 1000 to 5000. Though it is not impacting, maybe it is not harming like to the end user, but somehow your application is piling up with this logs, right? Null pointer or array index, whatever it is. So as an SRE engineer, the requirement from our side is we should be able to measure it. How many exceptions were there prior to my deployment, and how is the exception count after the deployment? And if I notice that the exception count is high, then I should be able to report it. We can see the same in the Promtail with using the Loki and Grafana. We can determine that as well. Okay. Perfect. I hope no more doubts. I think we are good to wind up today's session. So yeah, thank you guys. And tomorrow we will start the session with with Grafana and Loki, and how can we see the same results, the application logs for our application on the Grafana tool. Yeah, thank you everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.